Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know him as the man who's finishing up his USL championship season, the one and only Las Vegas Lights goalkeeper coach, Omar Zini. And honestly, guys, we're going to get through those introductions really quickly because we have a big-time guest with us today. We have New England Revolution goalkeeper coach, Kevin Hitchcock. Kevin, honestly, this is an honor, man. We're humbled that you're coming on the show right now. As Yuta Nomura from NE2 just put in the comment section right now, Hitchy's the best. So you got a massive fan base here, man. We're honestly, like, this is kind of one of those things. Like, I was even talking about it with Omar. Like, when he pulls out the microphone, he's got the headset on and everything. You know, it's a big time guest. That's yes, indeed. Up here we got Saskia Weber, 99 World Cup winner Saskia Weber, joining us as we speak right here. Saskia, you got off your call?
I did get off my call. Yes, it was a great call, and I had a great bike ride home today until I blew a tire, so that was fun too.
Oh, that's never fun. Now, by the way, is anybody hearing? There's a little bit of a crackling sound.
Yeah,
going on.
I can.
Kevin.
I can.
Yeah.
I think it's Kevin. So Kevin, whenever you're not talking, we're gonna mute you just because it does have a little bit of an echo.
No problem.
Cool. So anyway, honestly, guys, as we kind of get into this right now, obviously, Kevin, like the majority of our fans out here, they kind of already know your story. You really don't need an introduction. Obviously, you know, you played at clubs such as Chelsea. I mean, you've worked with some of the top goalkeepers in the world in the last 20 years. And as we all know, the goalkeeper coach is an educator who works with whoever's in front of you. So I'm not going to say that, you know, those goalkeepers are because of you, because I'm sure you're too humble to say that, but you have the opportunity to work with these people. Let's talk a little bit more about the fact that you kind of made that transition from Europe and then spending some time in India over to MLS and how that happened.
So from India, it was I'd been out of work for I think about 4 or 5 months, and I just wanted to get back into work, and I had the opportunity to work with John Gregory and Paul Groves to go to India. I was in my house in Spain at the time, and I thought, yeah, let's give it a go. So I went to India. I didn't really enjoy the experience. I came home quite early, and I started playing a bit more golf, and then I had a phone call from an ex-keeper of mine, Brad Friedel, to go and help him at New England. So I jumped on an aeroplane and then came to New England.
I mean, honestly, you know, one of the really cool things about that, obviously, is we always talk about the goalkeeper union and the community of goalkeepers and everything like that. And, you know, I mean, you know, Saskia, you can attest for this. You know, a lot of the goalkeepers that you've met throughout your illustrious career who've either gone on to coaching positions or other positions, you know, in management and stuff like that. And how important that is, those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're gonna come back to who you know and stuff, and you know, Brad and I are the same time period. We know each other very well, and you know, I've loved his career, and on the national team, off the national team, playing pro. And you know, if it were me, I'd do the same thing. I think I love that he reached out, and it's kind of funny though when you sit back, if you think about it, you're like your goalkeeper that you coach is calling you to come work for them. It's kind of interesting. You kind of have to laugh at that. You're like, wait, I was your mentor. Like, you're giving me a job.
Well, we had a fantastic relationship. Like our player-coach relationship was really, really strong. I mean, Brad was, when I went to work with Brad was 36 years of age. He, you know, it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks, but we got on famously, and he took on board everything I was working with him with. You know, we had just a fantastic relationship. A lot of trust, by the way, a lot of trust.
I mean, and that is extremely important right there in regards to that. I mean, Omar, you know, we've kind of talked about that. You know, obviously we even had a young goalkeeper on, you know, just yesterday in regards to talking about trust and being able to have confidence with your goalkeeper coach and everything like that. And I know that's something that you obviously, working in the LAFC environment now with the younger keepers and everything like that, have really been trying to, portray to them.
Yeah, I think, coming in, you want to help the young goalkeepers improve. And you obviously, I think at the younger ages in the academy and stuff, they look at you kind of like as obviously this adult figure that's coming in and trying to improve them, but they don't necessarily understand that there's a working relationship and off the field relationship. So for me, I've been trying to bridge that gap as well, where on the field, we speak a certain way, and then off the field, I want to continue that relationship. It's not just I'm here to teach you and that's it. It's more so I want to get to know you as a person. I want to get to know, your good habits, your bad habits, and then taking that information and then applying that to the way I structure my coaching towards you. So I think as well, that's been one of those things where obviously you have to draw the line. You can't be, I can't be my silly self with them all the time, but also to just want to make sure that it's not just like a relationship that I want to establish on the field, but off the field as well.
Kevin, I actually have a question for you in regards to that. And by the way, feel free to interject any time right here. This is a casual panel discussion. But is that something when you've worked with when you're working with an older goalkeeper, and obviously the demands are very different when you're talking about an older goalkeeper versus, a younger goalkeeper in regards to your demeanor, and how you go about working with them? Because like you were saying, Brad Friedel, 36 years old, a veteran goalkeeper. Do you have to handle that from an emotional standpoint, from an EQ standpoint differently?
Yeah, I mean, my story with Brad was I knew I was going into Blackburn Rovers, and I knew he had a really good relationship with his coach Roy Tunks before. So what I did, I phoned Brad. I'd played against Brad a few times before, and I went in there, I phoned him up and I said, listen, this is I'm coming in, and this, I know you've probably worked a certain way, but what I want you to just try what I'm doing, my program, my weekly program. And if there's anything you dislike, you think it's too much, then we can adjust the training accordingly. And he took on board everything I was showing him, and he was probably one of the fittest goalkeepers I've ever worked with. He was incredible, and he did as much, if not more, than the younger goalkeepers. So it was such an easy transition from coming from a championship club like Watford with goalkeepers with not as much ability as Brad's, but and he took everything on board, and that gave me a lot of confidence early in my coaching career.
I love the fact that you said that right there in regards to taking it on, and that is just so important. I mean, especially us as coaches, when we come into a new environment with maybe new goalkeepers that we haven't worked with before. Saskia, obviously you inherited a fantastic group of goalkeepers at UCLA, and there's a certain, for lack of a better term, professionalism there at that university, and a certain mindset that's always expected of those goalkeepers. But there is still a little bit of that feeling out period, and you did have to, I know you'd talk to me personally about how at the beginning you weren't so sure, what direction, because you had to feel them out and you had to see who they were first.
Yeah, and I think it's still evolving. Coming in, and you can feel goalkeepers out, but you still have to see how they deal with adversity. Like what happens, what kind of a person are they, or a player are they when they get hurt? Or what kind of a person, player are they when they don't travel and they're not number like 1 or 2, and they've, and how do they deal with that? And each person deals with it differently, and you have to learn that as a coach and learn how to handle each person. So I'm still learning their personalities and them as individuals, as off the field and on the field. So it's ever evolving.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Omar.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to, for my experience as well too, our goalkeeper for the second team now, he's still young, he's only 20, but we have 2 other academy guys that join in our sessions, and they're 16 and 17. So, there are times where the 20-year-old, is mature beyond his years, and from the get-go, whether it's the gym stuff, whether it's his diet, He's on top of his stuff, doesn't drop any balls in the activation, doesn't drop anything, is very, very tuned into what it needs to do. And then I've noticed that the younger goalkeepers, they need a little bit of extra time to, maybe they drop a few balls at the beginning, but they've never really had that standard. So for as to kind of what Kevin was saying with Brad, it's like it's always nice when the older goalkeeper is the one who's establishing the tempo, establishing the tone. And obviously sometimes you want to make sure, because I feel sometimes when I yell at the younger goalkeepers, or I try to make an example of, hey, this is what the standard looks like. I don't want to give the older goalkeeper that like too much of confidence and too much of you know what I'm saying? It's a balancing act. So I want to make sure that I'm making an example and showing him this is what you're supposed to do, but at the same time too, keeping the guy who's 20 years old, who's still young, but keeping him on track to again make sure he's maturing at the right speed.
Yeah, and sometimes I like the other day, like I leave it. I want to see how you react without me telling you what to do. Without what is your character? A good example was 2 of my goalkeepers are hurt. One is more, she's a junior. The other one's a freshman. So 2 totally different injuries. I'm dealing with the other keepers. We're in the middle of small-sided and going through some set plays and doing stuff like that. And just watching what they're doing with their depth for me, was all right. Hannah's taking care of herself. She's doing core work. She's running. She's doing this, that, the other. And my other goalkeeper is sitting there having a conversation with somebody and didn't even bring her gloves out to practice. And so I want to allow you to make those mistakes. And then I brought the other goalkeeper. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Talk to me. What can you do in this time that you have downtime? You've already done your rehab. You've already done this. What can you do right now? Find something else. I shouldn't have to tell you that. And like, I like to allow them, then teach them, let me see what their character is.
Yep.
She won't ever do it again. Trust me.
Yeah. I think we just lost Kevin on the feed right there, but
maybe he didn't like the comment. But do you understand
I think
what I'm
he's
saying? Like
absolutely.
I turned around and I was just like, come here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So
I thought
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought Kevin disagreed with your comment right there, because when we lost the feed all of a sudden, right there. Can you hear us, Kevin?
It just disappeared.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully we can keep the streaming gods happy for a second. So let's just kind of move into this topic, guys. And I think this is really solid because of the simple fact that we have goalkeeper coaches here who are working at all different levels of the game. Obviously, we've got, the introductory professional level, with Omar here. We got the university level with Saskia. You got myself, working at the youth level. And obviously you, Kevin, working at the highest level right now, in MLS here in the United States. And today's topic, guys, is session design in regards to the demands of your environment. Kevin, for maybe some parents out there or younger players that are listening who might not be familiar with what we mean, we just lost him again. All right. Well, then Omar, why don't you explain what we mean by kind of the demands of the environment? Oh,
okay, he's coming back in.
Yeah, he's coming back. Let's see.
Oh,
he's back.
I don't
Kevin,
know what's
did you
going
catch?
on with this. It keeps jumping out of this StreamYard.com.
And you just on the link, right? You just went on the link. Are you on your Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Wi-Fi's good. Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, we'll hopefully it sticks okay. So we'll ask you right now, real quickly. What do we mean by the demands of the environment? For maybe some parents out there who are listening who don't know what we mean by that.
I can only gauge on how I coach at the top level. So our training sessions stem from day to day. So early in the week, so I prepare for a Monday, Saturday game. So my Monday session's like a reintroduction into training from a day off on a Sunday. And my Tuesday session is really physical. So I start lower leg. I'm a big believer in power in the legs. That's my biggest goal, to make the goalkeepers more powerful and agile with their legs. And I do an awful lot of feet movement. And then I introduce the feet movement into each exercise, building up into the bigger exercises. So on a Tuesday morning, I'll start in the gym about 9:30, and I'll give them a power session, which involves squats, sprinting on the spot, drop jumps from boxes, hurdles, fast feet, and then hill sprints outside. And then I'll take my session straight from the hill. I call it a step dive. There'll be vertical jumps, left foot and right foot. And then I'll put it into the next exercise where it's free servers and they're going around a triangle. And they're making 9 saves and rest, and then the other 9. And then I'll do another session, which is like in the goal with free servers. And there's low post dives, face dives, and I put them under a lot of duress. So the idea of putting them in duress is putting them into situations where they have to concentrate all session. And the idea is when they're playing in a game, their concentration levels are so high, then they won't make that erratic mistake. So that's why I work all week for Monday, Tuesday, probably Wednesday, with a high intensity to get them all prepared for the weekend. Obviously, one only plays, and it's worked well with me for 20 years, and I don't see why I should change if I know the goalkeepers are really adapting to the work to the game on a Saturday. So that's my a weekly program.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you brought up right there, Kevin, and thank you for muting that while you're off right here. But is you brought up the fact of like the pressure, and that demands of, obviously your environment is a very high pressure environment. Saskia, obviously yours at UCLA as being one of the best teams in the country from a university standpoint, right there. It is a similar situation. And a lot of these young goalkeepers have come from an environment where their demands were different because there were 4 people, in folding chairs, and it's the first time they've been playing in front of 3,000, 4,000 people, in a stadium on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the pressure get to them 100%. And game management and poor game management. Trust me, I've been dealing with it. If we could stop going to overtime, it'd be great. But part of that, it comes from the top down. And again, I keep going back to the individual. Like some people can handle that better than others, and the other ones need to be put in those environments, not just in the game, but in practice as well. And just keep hammering it. Like Lauren I would say Lauren in the beginning, when I first started coaching her, struggled with game management, got into her head, got the crowd, 4,000, 10,000 people against USC, like whatever, like the pressure of it, not understanding where we were in the game and stuff like that, and getting hyped up and having to corral that and understand it, and going through video and showing her why, and really doing your due diligence as a coach. And Omar loves video, but sometimes you have to put it into that context and dumb it down and be like, you're rushing this play. There's no reason why. It's something as simple as, why are you running to a ball that's out of bounds when we're up 1-0 with 8 minutes left to go in the game? Because young players get so in their head and they're so amped, and the environment's got them amped and everything. They have to be able to pull themselves out of that, and vice versa. They have to not walk to a ball when we're down 1-0 with 8 minutes left to go. So those are things that you have to train, you have to go over, you have to talk to, you have to show them, and everything. And it's also trial and error.
Yeah. Go ahead, Omar.
No, I think just something that Saskia said, I think that's very, very important to this year is, our team, we had certain concepts that we try to instill in the team, whether it's short goal kicks, whether it's, how our team defends and how we press and how we slide our back line, things like that. And like Sas said, there's been situations where our goalkeeper is an incredible shot stopper. He's very good in the air. Just made some unbelievable saves that I haven't seen in a long time from somebody to make, or me sitting on the sideline at least. I've seen it on TV. But then we talk about those concepts with context. And there's a lot of context. These young goalkeepers, they've never been in those situations where you're fighting. There's no relegation, but you're fighting for points. You have the system throughout, college and things like that. And a lot of these kids are probably on, top schools where they're the ones managing the lead, but necessarily they're up 2-3-0. So they don't have to manage those like 10 precious seconds or those delicate times. So I'm seeing these young goalkeepers come through and I'm like, look, I understand if you want to make it to the next level, which is the LAFC first team, you need to understand how to manage a lead, how to manage your back line, how to communicate when, the crowd isn't so loud. When there's a set piece or a restart, can you communicate with your back four, your back line in a concise way, what needs to be done? And like Sas said as well, the ball goes out of bounds, slow your tempo to the ball. If we're seeing momentum and they're pressing us, why is your fifth goal kick in a row going short? You're just inviting pressure. So you put some context to the concepts that we're working on. I'm not saying to scratch it, but again, a lot of these young kids don't understand that people like Kevin, other coaches from around the league are watching their development. And even if your team isn't doing well, if you're not dialed in on those little things, that has a major impact if you're a goalkeeper with a high potential or a short potential.
Yeah, I love what you said, because that's a huge thing, that in the context of a game where we're under pressure. I know that our game plan is to play out of the back and stuff like that, but it's not calling for that right now. The game's not calling for that right now. The game's calling for to bypass, that first line or second line and clear out. And if you the next level of goalkeeping, especially for college kids, is to understand that. It's not just to, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I was told. It's really to understand what the game is telling you, and the flow of the game is telling you.
See, I love what you both are saying right there. And Kevin, obviously this is something that is very important, in regards to being able to be organic and be in the moment right there and understand the demands of what you need right now. We always talk about effective goalkeeping. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to look, textbook, but it has to be effective in the moment right there. Is that something that's sometimes difficult for a younger goalkeeper? Let's say they come up from NE2 to the first team to kind of grasp.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on what you're saying, it's a learning curve all the time, and it's great playing out from the back. But if you got the second pass and it's going it to the opposition and they score the goal, then for me, I can't fathom out why teams, even Premier League teams, persist on playing. Oh, got to play out from the back. You play out from the back if you're good enough. We work quite hard on playing out from the back. I'm working with Matt Turner, and when I come to New England, all I heard was Matt Turner can't kick the ball. Matt Turner can't kick the ball. So we were fortunate enough to have the lockdown, and the only thing I could do was feet drills and kicking balls. I spent hour after hour with Matt Turner, shaping him to kick a ball in different ways. Matt was brought up playing on AstroTurf with 4G, and he finds it easier kicking it off the 4G because he just brushes the top. But then now we play on grass, so now, and we're training on grass every day, and I want him to have other bows to his arrows to his bow. I want him to bend this ball like that. I want him to get at the ball and kick it out to the left side. I want him to kick it out to the right side. I want him to drop it into the centre forward. I want him to pass it to the six instead of just going to the two centre halves. So we spent a lot of time, and he's worked. That boy has worked unbelievably hard on his game. I mean, I get balls and I fire balls in at him, and he has a good touch. And now he's confident enough to see where the next picture is, and he's learning when to, we need to go long now, because he's in charge. The goalkeeper is always in charge of these dead ball situations. And if he's not comfortable in playing short, then we get up. He gives him time to get up, and we go long. So
yeah. No, I was just going to say, one thing I want to do actually right now. It's funny that you brought up Turner, because I think, I can bring up some of these clips right here. Let's see if I can open this up right. Hold on, do not want it. All right. So I want to start with this right here, because we're talking about the different demands of different environments, right? Obviously right here. And obviously this game is against Chicago in the 86th minute. I think this was a recent game of yours that you just played. And essentially, I'm just going to kind of break it down for everybody who's listening to this and they're not watching it right now. But essentially what happens is this is the 86th minute. Fabian Herbers kind of plays a ball in to Luka Stojanovic, who hits a header back post. Matt recognizes with just a little lateral shift that based on this situation right now, it's going to be best for him to try to hold this ball. And what a phenomenal hold right there. Obviously 2-2 game right now. This is a very different type of environment than, let's just say, the U.S. national team. Did we get Kevin back right here? Oh. Kevin, you got us?
No, it's cut out again. It's
can you see us now?
no,
Can you
no.
see us?
No.
You can't see us?
I've got a blank screen. I've got settings,
got a blank
camera,
screen.
audio.
Yeah, I think Mike, from his perspective on the phone, I don't think he can actually see. But let's
okay.
If anything, let's
okay.
just
So I'll just
continue with the
I'll just
discussion,
take
no
the
video.
yeah. We'll just take the video off right here. So
Kevin,
let's go ahead. Omar.
Can I ask Kevin a question? So Kevin, I know you have Yuta with the second group, and I'm just wondering, do you guys have those conversations of like, you're trying to get each goalkeeper from the second team onto the first team, not to look like Matt, but like, is he the standard in the way you guys have tried to shape him for the New England Revolution
all goalkeepers
profile?
are individuals. They're all different types, and you can't make a goalkeeper be like another goalkeeper. Everybody's got different traits. So I try to get them. I get the younger goalkeepers up. I'm working. We got Utah brings up a young guy called Marzouk, and he has got the athletic ability, the best I've ever seen in a while. But as a goalkeeper, he's very, very raw. And when I mean raw, I've gone back to basics to build his confidence in doing basic, throwing the ball, catching it, and then building exercises. We've been doing it for 3 or 4 and seen big improvement. But he needs to transfer that when he goes into big training sessions with the team, which he does, and then he has lapses of concentration and he drops too many balls. So with me, how I coach, I'm a big believer in repetition, and I will do it till they can do it in their sleep. So with younger ones like that, you have to give them as much time as they need to, if you believe in them. If that's the biggest thing for me, you have to believe that you can break them down and start again, and they have to understand what they're doing. And I did that with Matt, who was a very, very intelligent pupil, and he took everything on board in all the training drills, exercises we were doing, and they're all game. All my drills are all game based, and Matt understood this early on in games where he was making saves in games from training drills. So, and that's what I'm trying to develop with the younger ones. I've got 2 young lads who come up now, and I'm going to have another one probably next week. So it's building the blocks so that they can get the foundations to move on and better their careers.
Yeah, and I think that is such an important part right there in regards to the foundational aspect, because one of the problems that I see, and Saskia, I know we've talked about this consistently over and over on the show, but people who work in the youth game, in the youth club game, and they train their goalkeepers based on the demands of the Premier League, as opposed to the demands of what it is to be a 9 or 10-year-old player at that time, and because of that, they're kind of putting the cart before the horse, and what Kevin's saying in regards to just the repetition and the simple foundation, that's what they need to focus on at that age.
Well, absolutely, but it needs to be focused on across the board, period. I think that repetition, basics, and foundation, everything else can grow from there. Sorry about the sound in the back. Every time I get on this thing, something happens. Like, I don't know what's going on outside. But and sometimes I'll look at my keepers and I feel that they're off. They're off. Timing's off, or the way they're reading. And my first thing to them is back to basics, guys. Back to basics. Slow it down. If you find that you're not catching through the ball, if you find that you're giving up rebounds, dumb it down, go back to basics. Body weight, positioning, moving, catching. That's it. you know, and everything else, if you have that core and have that foundation, everything else can get rebooted or built back up. And so all kids need to start with that. And no, you shouldn't come in trying to teach kids upper 90 top hand saves. First, you have to teach them footwork and when to use the proper hand and how to catch the ball, because I hate rebounds, and you know that. and so as long as those cores are instilled in people and in your goalkeepers, you can always revert to them and reboot. Period.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Omar.
No, I think something that Kevin said earlier, I think he was talking about, working on strengthening the legs and having a strong, core base. And something that I realized, and I've messaged Matt a long time ago, and I've done posts on him before, of the fact that aside from like this new era goalkeeper where, the defaults and going down early and doing the block save and all that stuff, I just felt when I started watching Matt that he gave himself the best opportunity to make a save. And I'm going to say it again, so I know Kevin just came back on. But yeah, Kevin, I was just saying that, with just watching Matt over the years, and since I'm sure you started working with him, every time it's a 1v1 situation or a shot stopping opportunity, he does the work early, and he's extremely, extremely powerful in his stance. So when the shot comes, he's able to see it and react, versus I feel like the modern goalkeeper, the trends that we see nowadays. And Mike, like you said, when you watch a Neuer, when you watch a De Gea and those guys are freak athletes, once in generation athletes. So they have the ability to cheat a little bit and get away with it. But these younger goalkeepers, when they watch that, and for me as a coach, when I train that, I got to make sure that you're not going to be as athletic as those guys. So you guys aren't going to have as much margin for error. So you guys need to understand, and what Matt Turner does so well is he gets to a spot, stays big, and then reacts. And I think that, again, maybe Kevin, to your credit, or maybe to the sessions that you guys do, but it's the basics of keeping your head still and then from there reacting.
What he does, he trusts what he's being told. And I have an elder goalkeeper, Brad, who finds it hard to trust the command, and he wants to try and read and guess, and he keeps getting caught out. But Matt trusts it because he's so quick with his reactions. So he believes in what he's doing, and he waits. And players want you to go early. They want you to make their mind up for them. So what I say to them, I want you to put the onus back on the forward, and I'll do drills where I replicate that situation where they trust it and then they react to the ball. And this is where Matt's been unbelievable.
No, but that's absolutely right. And this young group of goalkeepers, that is what they want to do. They want and even older, they want to get that jump. You have to remember that the forwards are doing it too. The forwards are reading you. The forwards know that you're going to go down into a block save. They know that you might come out too fast. They're not stupid. At the higher level you get, they want you to do these things. And the best chance you could give yourself is to stand the person, is to be solid, is to count on what you've been taught, not to assume, not to try to lean, not to do those things. Be a solid, strong goalkeeper at your core. And that, you're going to come up with more saves than not, in my opinion, in that situation. We are absolutely so on the same page, Kevin. So on the same page.
Yeah, and so it's funny that you both are bringing that up, and obviously, Kevin, I think one of the issues a lot right now in regards to the game today is there's a lot of young goalkeepers out there who are conceptualizing or anticipating movements, which is nothing wrong to having educated idea and reading triggers and cues and everything like that. But there's another thing to overreact rather than react. And I think Matt's absolutely phenomenal. That patience of being able to willing to hold and commit to the last second.
I call it proact.
Yeah.
Be proactive, not reactive. Yeah. It's pro.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
See, these two over here, these on the lower screen, teaching the younger kids on the upper screen. At least that's how it's showing on my Zoom. So.
That's how it's looking on our end right here too. Kevin, I got a question for you because obviously, you coaching at the highest of levels and everything like that. As we just lost Kevin. again, right? This is literally a sketch. This is a sketch.
It's not a funny one.
it's not. It's not a. It's not a funny one. Hey, but you know what? After 200 plus episodes, we've learned to be able to handle any sort of technological issues that are going on.
I missed that. I lost that again.
Oh, no worries, man. So what I was asking you is basically, obviously we're talking about the demands of the environment. Now, you coaching at the highest of levels, we're talking about surfaces. You have, surfaces in MLS that, let's just say, are not the same as the other surfaces. Some are wonderful, fantastic, beautiful grass fields. Some are some great turf fields, and then some are some, let's just say, not as appropriate turf fields for football matches. Is that something? Well, I wasn't going to call you guys out on that. I mean,
are you kidding me? We have to practice in Carson tomorrow because Drake is in such bad shape. And the guys have a game. The guys have a game, so we can't use Annenberg, our game field. So we're stopping on the way to the airport.
Wow!
Trust me, yeah. So, but everybody go to UCLA. Sorry.
But is that something you take into consideration in regards to how you design your sessions based on that surface? Oh, we just lost him,
Mike. I'm starting the mic. You still haven't sold me on StreamYard. Just saying.
So
go ahead.
What I do, I sort of tone down my training. We tend to go on the stadium 2 days before a game, and I do passing and I do crossing. I don't like them diving about too much on the turf. And the same, we have a field house as well, and we go in there and all the lights are not on, and then I demand all the lights on, so they have to run around and try to get someone to turn the lights on, because I don't want any of my goalkeepers breaking a finger or getting a ball in the face because the lighting's poor. So they're the things I take into consideration.
Yeah, I like the fact that you brought up the lighting thing, because I think that's something that freaks out a lot of young goalkeepers, Omar. I know when you used to do, private sessions, that's something that isn't really taken into consideration once they're actually going into their actual matches, and I know that you started having those conversations with them, and you started recognizing that you had to, as a private coach, you had to kind of rethink how you did it, because the demands of their environments was very different than where you were training them.
Oh, you see Yuda's coming in?
Oh, hold on. Do we have a special guest here? Is he
There
right
we
here?
go. Yeah,
look at this guy.
Hey guys.
Look at this guy.
I18. Oh, he's just gone.
And we lost Kevin. Hi, Yuda.
Hey, Yuda, how are you, man? well, maybe go ahead, Omar. Keep going. I'm sure Kevin will rejoin us when he comes back on here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before, but there's a lot of things that I don't think or for me at least, I took into consideration when I do my private sessions, where a lot of these young kids, they have their own environments, they have their own set of issues that they want to work on, but I'm not with them every single day. I'm not at all their games. And I think something as small as, in high school and college, you do play in bad light situations. I think we had spoken to Steve Clark, and Steve Clark was saying that I think the stadium that he played at, I don't know if it was Seattle or maybe even Minnesota, he was just saying that some of the stadiums, their lighting situation is abysmal, and services that get stuck in the air, it gets lost. So I think those are also little, again, minor ways of adversity that you kind of have to get to at the next level.
This episode, man, this is going to be the greatest edit. This is going to be the greatest editing job in the history of
It's actually funny now. It's actually funny now.
I'm not sure where the dog was coming from. Yuda, I kind of want to ask you this question here, and then Kevin, you can interject into this as well too, because one thing, Kevin, that Yuda says is that the ability for him to be able to train in your environment and watch you work with the goalkeepers and then work with NE2 kind of close by has been so beneficial. So Yuda, is that something that has really helped you, is the fact that you have a first team right there. You can watch what they're doing and seeing, okay, well, the demands are a little bit different at the first team. I know how I can adjust this to make this work for my environment.
Right. So obviously my job and Hitch's job is a little bit different. We have more younger goalkeepers than Hitch's, and obviously the level is different. And then there's so many things that I have to teach, and coach versus Kevin's job. Obviously, Kevin's job, Hitch's job is almost same as well. But my job is to obviously get them ready for the first team environment. And I think communicate with Hitchy helps massively. My job is to send our goalkeepers to Hitchy's environment, and Hitchy tells me straightforward, like, let's say our goalkeeper is not fit enough. He tells me they're not fit enough. And if they're not, technically good enough, he's gonna tell me that. So I think my job is constantly changing. Okay, so like for me to send our goalkeeper to Hitch's environment, what do I need to do? And I'm constantly thinking, and also to be next to him is massively. So, unfortunately these days our training time and the first time, the training time is almost same time. So sometimes like I can't get to his training environment, but at the same time, when I have a time, I love to go to, their environment. And today in the morning we had a time to go there. So like I went up to the first team environment, just assist and help Hitch's session. And, just seeing those environment and what he's doing is helps him massively.
Kevin, I got a question for you. Oh, Omar, do you have something?
Yeah, no, real quick. I think that was the comment that I had for Kevin earlier, just talking about like the Matt Turner profile. I didn't necessarily mean that you guys are having players look like him, but it was more so the standard that you guys keep for the number one goalkeeper of your program for the first team. Is that essentially, running it through Utah and like running it through all the young guys? That's essentially the foundational piece that you try to instill, so that when Utah brings those guys up to you, they're ready to step in on, from the minute one.
Yeah. So to try and answer your question, I get goalkeepers up quite a lot, and I'm still looking for another goalkeeper to come in and replace Matt, because Matt's not going to be here forever, and we need someone to fill his boots. So the requirements for me, they have to be ready, and they have to be ready to go in to be a top class goalkeeper. Yes, they're going to make mistakes, but the standard I want is something like a Matt Turner, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. And I know if I get the right person, I know I can make another Matt Turner. I've had a Brad Friedel, I've had a Joe Hart, I've had a Shay Given, I've had a Casper Schmeichel, I've had a host of others, younger goalkeepers like Richard Lee.
That sounds tough.
Richard Lee or Neil Etheridge. They all come up from academy football to go into my environment, and that they have to step up. And the intensity I work at is very, very high, and my demands are very high. But honestly, that's what the goal is, to be in this environment. So, and that's what I strive for every day.
Yeah, I Kevin, I got quickly, but kind of before we move on right here, I actually have a question for you, because obviously the fact that you have Yuta right there working with the second team, and he is able to take a opportunity and the advantage of you being in that in the first team environment right there. What are you, as a first team goalkeeper coach? What is your job for Yuta? What do you want him to get out of being at those sessions? Other than shagging balls for you and putting down cones.
No. I want him to see my sessions, look at my sessions, understand why I do my sessions on a daily basis. It's not just a weekly basis, and take that program down there and copy what I'm doing. So when these goalkeepers come up from that environment, they're used to doing what I want them to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that makes That makes perfect sense. And I mean, and that adds for that synergy right there from academy to NE2 to the first team right there, you know. And obviously, you know, this is something that it's a little bit more difficult in regards to in certain environments. Obviously, you know, Omar, you know, you're in Las Vegas, you know, and the first team is out here and everything like that. But you know, so you know, you're very fortunate, Yuta, obviously that you have that
Right.
opportunity. You know, is that one of the reasons kind of why you go to all those sessions is to be able to do that?
Yes, and then also obviously me as a young goalkeeper coach, I think, you know, having Kevin as the first team goalkeeper coach is huge. You know, he's played for the massive club and coach for the great clubs, and he's standing next to me, and then of course I want to be there and I want to learn from him. And also, like, my job is to, like I said, my job is to give our goalkeeper to the Hitch's environment. And if I don't know what he's looking for, and if I don't know, you know, like what he doesn't like and what he likes for his goalkeeper to do, I can't do my job. So like being up there with it, you know, with Hitchy helps me understand what he's looking for and what he's obviously looking for his goalkeepers, and also from my goalkeeper coach standpoint.
Yeah.
Mike,
Go ahead,
I think that's from watching sessions online and being, you know, present in certain coaches sessions. I think for me, one of the biggest things, and I'm sure you understand this as well, is like, what does the goalkeeper coach, what do they stop the sessions for, and what are the terms that they use, or what are they saying? What are the little minor details that they're looking for? And Kevin, I know you've been in this for so long. Oh, sorry, you're on mute, so I'll mute you.
I know what my minor details are. My minor details are correct handling, good footwork. I'm a big believer in footwork to make saves. And if you don't use your feet quick enough, then you ain't going to make these saves. And this is where Matt has really took it onto another level. I mean, I could show videos of Matt training. All my training sessions are video, and I do a lot of one-on-one with Matt day before games where he's moving feet to make so, especially for free kicks and penalties. I've got my own little formula where Matt trusts what I'm telling him, and he keeps producing. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, you know, and I think, you know, that right there, I love the fact that you just said, you know, your minor details. And so a lot of times I think that we try to overcomplicate things, you know, and I think again, talking about the demands of the environment, you have to recognize that goalkeeping in itself is a simple activity. I think we try to overcomplicate it so many times as goalkeeper coaches. Saskia, I know this is something that you've been massive with, you know, when you're working with your goalkeepers, is that, you know, and they're looking at you and they're waiting for some profound, you know, comment from you.
And I say, stop looking at me.
Yeah.
No, and again, Kevin and I are same cloth. Like, it's footwork, it's simplicity. Do I think I wouldn't say that it, like, goalkeeping in itself as a whole is simple. There's a lot that goes into it off the ball and on the ball, but I think that I agree. I'm a huge proponent of footwork, of getting to the ball, of handling the ball, of holding the ball. And obviously, the better your footwork is, the better you're going to hold the ball, and less rebounds and everything. So in that sense, I go back to the basics.
Yeah. You know, I got a question for Yuta right here, because obviously we've discussed this with Omar, you know, quite a bit, as this is, you know, this is his first professional season this year, and Yuta, last year, you know, was your first professional season. What are kind of some of the mistakes, Yuta, that you kind of made your first professional season, you know, coming from the college environment to a very different environment?
Oh, there's a lot of them that I made mistakes, but obviously, you know, the one mistake that the huge mistakes, or one mistake that I made, and Hitchy pointed out, that I overcoach it player too much. So every time one player make a mistake, sometimes like I jump in and then, you know, try to coach them. But Hitchy told me, you know, let them make mistakes, let them figure it out by themselves. And, you know, what Hitchy does is sometimes he just sit down and sit behind a goal or even the sideline from the angle that he can see the positionings and technique. So those are the things that I learned, especially from this year, and trying not to overcoach them and kind of I want to see their reaction when they make mistakes. And if they can figure it out by themselves, that's perfect. And if they can, they come to me, come to us, coaches, and then I can, guide them. That's something Hitchy pointed out, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing, and for the young goalkeeper coaches out there and stuff, you have to number one, trust in your coaching, and you have to sit back. I'm the same as Kevin. I'm the same as you. I sit back, I watch. I don't micromanage unless you keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. And like, whether it's positioning, whether it's something, then we're going to have to pull you into, so we have to fix something. 90% of the time, your goalkeeper knows the mistake they made. If you turn this in, what happened, they'll tell you without you having to tell them. So to learn, and I think, Yuta, that's typical of young coaches to come in and want to overcoach and micromanage and stuff, because, you also want to prove to everybody that you know what you're talking about and everything. But trust in your coaching, and let them make their mistakes and see if they can self coach themselves out of it, because that is a nod to you coaching them as well.
Yeah. And I think you both brought up just something absolutely phenomenal right here, and Kevin, obviously you've worked with some of the highest level goalkeepers the last 20 years. I mean, I don't even have to name the names. They're just, it's unreal. And a lot of coaches, because of their insecurities and their egos, they feel like they have to put their stamp on a goalkeeper rather than if leaving well enough alone. Oh, I see you shaking your head.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with that. They have to be their own person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, completely. Omar, is that something that you feel that you had already kind of worked out, when you were at Cal State LA, or is that something that still kind of being in that new pro environment this year was similar to Yuta like that?
Yeah, I think it's something that was new. And I think, as I said, I think every situation that you step into, you want to show them that you are worthy of the job. Your points are worthy of them, not stopping them in their tracks per se or saying something profoundly, but I think the ego gets in the way. But then you realize too, as long as you're confident in what you've learned as a coach and what you're saying. And for me, I try not to be too opinionated, because as a coach, you have to be super fluid. And I used to say, this is the absolute way. And then the game would present a different situation. The goalkeeper handled it completely different. And I realized I can't speak in absolutes as a goalkeeper coach or as a coach in general, because that's the easiest way for the player to be like, okay, I'm not going to listen to that anymore. So for me, I'm very fluid. I try to take what the goalkeepers, I guess, their opinions on the situation, and as I said, like, self-identify certain issues, and then from there, if they can self-correct it, great. But if not, I can provide certain questioning that allows them to get to that point. And then again, they feel as though over time they're the ones who are finding the solutions, versus me giving them and stepping in and telling them this is how you're supposed to do it, and then they can't stand on their own 2 feet.
I love what all you guys are saying right here, and Kevin, I want to ask you this question. Obviously, we've been talking a little bit about Matt Turner lately, and he's had a phenomenal rise. Shout out to Matt in this past year, with the men's pool. But the emotional element of, you were talking about when you started working with a new goalkeeper. Do you kind of wait to see how they react to making quote unquote mistakes or adjusting their technique or their decision making or anything from an emotional standpoint before you step in to give any sort of information?
Mistakes are going to happen, whether it be a misplaced pass, a bad control, let one through your legs, miss a cross. They happen every week in games. And what I tend to do, I look at it, I'll speak to him about it. What could you have done there? Could you have done this better? Could you have done that better? And then I'll recreate it. So, and I even do this in training with Matt. If a goalkeeper doesn't take a ball cleanly, then I make sure the next service I do is going to be the exact same, and he uses a different technique. So I tend to do that. I try not to take too long over that situation, and we move on. But you have to let them make mistakes, and that's how they have to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great point right there. You know, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I used to make is that something might have been effective, it might have been efficient, and then I still kept correcting it to try to make it perfect. And then the goalkeeper started lacking that trust in themselves and their own ability. And I'm talking about at the youth level right here, where, you know, kids are obviously very, you know, very, very, very malleable still. But you know, again, if you do something and it's effective and you see a positive result, successful result, and then someone's still micromanaging and critiquing it, you're going to start shutting down, and you're going to stop listening to them, because they're not giving you any sort of love or empathy for the moment, or even celebrating, you know, the moment, you know. And Yuta, I know that's something that you've been very big about, is making sure that the goalkeeper feels like they've accomplished something when it has been positive, rather than like, oh, here, but next time you could do this and it would be even better.
Right. And then, you know, there's another point that Hichi taught me was that, you know, whenever mistake happen or when coach critique goalkeeper, you know, goalkeeper coach has to be the guy that back them up. And you know, we know how they feel, and you know, we have to support them in any ways that can possible when they, you know, whether we lose the game, make a mistake, like I said, mistakes happens, but how they back them up is something that you know, I try to get better. And also, you know, Hichi pointed out, and you know, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Guys, as we start kind of wrapping up, and Kevin, first off, thank you for taking all this time. I know you're a busy person. I know you got a lot going on right now preparing for this weekend's matches. So thanks for sticking around despite the technical issues. But I have a question for you. You know, obviously you've coached at all these different levels out there. Do you have any advice for young coaches who are coming into a new environment at a new level than they've never worked at before?
I'll go back to my situation with Brad Friedel. I went in there, and I believed in what I was going to be doing was going to make him a better goalkeeper, and I've done that wherever I've gone. I went from Blackburn to Manchester City and did the same there. I did the same sort of formula, and then I went to West Ham, I went to QPR, I went to Fulham, and I did the same formula. I went to Birmingham. And I did the same when I come to New England. I try to make training, coaching enjoyable. If it's not enjoyable, then it's going to be difficult. So I try to keep it relaxed and I make them work hard, but it has to be enjoyable. And all my sessions, which you could ask any of the goalkeeper I work with, they're hard. They are hard, but they're enjoyable and they're educational. So you have to trust and believe what you're doing in.
Same.
Go ahead.
No, same.
Okay. No, I think we're all in the same agreement right there. And I think, you know, honestly, Kevin, to hear somebody at your level, you know, say something like that, I think is going to really resonate with a lot of young coaches out there, because, you know, Omar, and Yuta, I don't know how you feel, but myself, when I was a young coach, I started, as the higher the levels I got to, I started thinking the more and more I had to, you know, act in a professional manner. And instead of being honest to who I was as an educator and my personality, I started trying to be something I wasn't. And it actually had a detrimental effect, because the players could recognize that wasn't me. I was trying to be what I thought was a professional coach. Yeah. So, well, guys. Well, first off, thanks for taking all this time. I know we've been having the technical issues. Both of you guys have matches. Yuta, is your season wrapping up right now?
Yeah, still got three more games, and then we are in the fourth of the league. So, you know, 6 teams can go to the playoffs. So hopefully, you know, next 3 games we get the results and we get into the playoffs.
Oh man, I was gonna say, well, if we just lost Kevin right there. I was just gonna congratulate them on winning the Supporters Shield, but but we just lost him right there. Oh no, he's back right there. So he'll we'll add him just one more time for the most important aspect right here. And Kevin, and we were just saying, obviously we don't need to discuss your season. Your season's been absolutely phenomenal, and just congratulations
Yeah, we've
to all
done
the work
okay.
that.
I was laughing. That was awesome.
That's the boss.
I love it. I love that.
Oh my gosh! But
That's
honestly, seeing this goalkeeper union right here between you and Yuta, it's no wonder that both yourselves and the second team have been successful this season. I mean, it's really phenomenal to see all of that going. Kevin, I know you're not a big social media guy at all, but if there are some coaches out there that do want to connect with you, what will be the best way for them to do so?
Oh, I'm not into all that. I'll go about my business, and I'll just keep my goalkeepers happy. That's
They can contact me, and I can contact Kitty, and Kitty contact me.
Yeah, we'll have you to be your correspondent. So you'll just go to your session, and he'll report back, and he'll say, "Hey, so and so had this question. What do you think?" And then he'll report it back, and then they'll say it, and they'll be like, "Man, So that's awesome. Well, obviously, Yuta, I know you are active on social media. Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
On Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah. Well, shout out to all the great work you're doing. And guys, obviously, if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, contact at inside the18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast. Shout out to the one and only insider fan, Yuta Nomura, who suggested Kevin Hitchcock to come on the podcast. So Yuta, thank you for this suggestion. We weren't sure if we could get him, but thank you for making it happen. So really appreciate that. Obviously, guys, you can reach out to Saskia Weber at Saskia_Weber. Best of luck this week in Oregon for the matches. Omar Zini at ProGK Academy _. You guys have a couple more matches this week, Omar, still?
We do, yeah. There's Tacoma tonight, and again, there's just issues with the flight, so I wasn't involved. And then we have a game against I think Orange County this weekend in Orange County. No, Vegas. I'm going to be in Vegas. Just kidding. I'm going to be in Vegas, but next week, Orange County. Sorry.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Obviously, guys. All right, guys. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.
Thank you.